Hello, loved ones. This is Matt Stevens, and I am certain you are doing fantastic. I am doing well myself. Now, I have talked in the past about Rene Descartes, a French philosopher who theorized that this realm, this universe that we live in, is being projected, and I would venture to say holographically, by some by a creator. Okay. Now, then Descartes then theorized that this reality that we are in has been, for lack of a better term, hijacked by some evil entity or some entity that does not necessarily have our best interests in mind. And then we can branch off into many, many different reasons for all of this. But if you really look deep into some of the spiritual teachings in various traditions, we can see that this has been that this theory has been put forth in many different ways, many different times. For example, in the Judeo-Christian Bible, there does appear to be two gods. For example, and I don't really buy into any religious doctrine. However, we do bring in knowledge from wherever we can get it. So, Jesus in the Bible, he would say that two things. He said, "My Father, the big cheese, God, resides in heaven. My Father is there, not here," in other words. But he also said that heaven is not here or there, it is within you. Now, what does that tell you? Okay. If God, the big cheese, the head honcho, the creator of all, resides in heaven, and that heaven is inside of you, then God resides inside of you. That's a very nice thought. But Jesus further went on to warn of the God of this world. Okay? He further went on to say, beware of the God of this world, which would go along the lines of Rene Descartes' theory of the projection of this reality by a creator that has then been hijacked by a maybe a little lower level entity, but still very powerful nonetheless. So some people may be like, well, why would the big cheese allow that to happen? All I can tell you is that it's the yin and the yang, or the swing of the pendulum. You can't have this without that. Because we do live in a realm of polarity, of duality. We do live in a place where you must have this to have that. Okay. Now, also sticking with the Judeo-Christian Bible, but more going to the Judeo side, in the Old Testament, there are a lot of cases where there is a loving Father, an all-knowing, all-seeing, loving God described. But there is also the angry and jealous and rageful God explained. And we cannot believe that this God is the same entity. But then I'm reminded of how Jesus described it. My Father is in heaven. Beware of this, the God of this world. Then I think of Rene Descartes and thinking that this realm is a projection from a creator. and that it has been hijacked or at least overrun by some very powerful entity that does not have our best interests in mind. So that kind of puts us in a little spot. And yeah, definitely Christians are not a fan of what I'm saying, because then they have to acknowledge that, well, some of that stuff in the Bible might be, that claims to be God, might not be. Thankfully, we, dear loved one, don't have to worry about that, because we are not as concerned with that. What we're concerned with, or what I'm concerned with anyway, is what do we do here? Obviously, we have come here to learn, to grow, to mature, to come into our own as co-creators, because we are in a environment that is conducive to being a co-creator. We are in a realm where creating your own reality is possible. But you do have to become awake. You do have to claim your sovereignty. All of those things. But then when we look at the masses and we think, God, there's billions upon billions of people, and the human collective is on such a negative trajectory. Why? What would be the purpose? To which I look back again at Rene Descartes and this evil entity keeping humanity stuck in a loop. It's like, for what purpose? Well, then we come back to the whole thing about Loosh, which is that very low vibrational energy that is emitted when we are in states of fear or worry or just any negative state. It's a very low vibrational energy. And it is theorized, and I think that there is a lot of truth to it. Now exactly to what extent, how can I know? But that either this illusion of duality is powered by this, or then there's also that whole thing of you hear about the Archons. I am not an expert here. I have looked into it about that much, so please don't hold me to this when I say. But the Archons are entities whose purpose is to make sure that humanity stays in this low vibrational state for the purpose of providing this energy, this low vibrational energy. Very possible. That would explain a lot of things. That would explain the perpetual feedback loop of negativity that people seem to stay in. And I got to believe that on the grander scale, when we look at the elites of the world, that they have been tasked with keeping us in this negative state, be it through the social media, through the news media, through all of these ways that they keep people in a slumber, in a sleep of negativity. Addiction, that's one that I came from. Addiction is the ultimate in a negative feedback loop. Every single day. Loop. And it is horrible. But I got to believe that if I were an entity that was tasked with causing that negative energy to be produced, yeah, that's how I would do it. I would hit them with addiction. If that don't work, hit them with the news media, fear, all of those things. But then when we as individuals awaken and realize that this has happened, that's when we as individuals can overcome it. Now, will the collective overcome it? I don't think so. All we can do is what we can do. So I, Matt, can overcome it. I can realize this is what's going on. And I can hopefully, by rising above it and directing my attention to things that are going to make my life good rather than bad, such as when I overcame addiction and started going in a positive direction, raising my vibration, I'm probably going to be of no use to this realm. And when this avatar passes away, I'll be booted out of the system rather than recycled back through. Best thing I can hope for really is to inspire others to do the same thing. I think that would be a good thing. So, yeah, I made a video about meditation, and then I kind of made a follow-up video. I have not put that out, but it's more of just encouraging. But I do encourage you to do meditation, to search your soul, to find your true higher self, who is on the outside and observing and waiting for you to come to this realization. Maybe your higher self has been throwing little breadcrumbs at you, maybe. Kind of been throwing things in at you. Hey, look, it's time. It's time for you to come up out of the loop. It's time for you to turn this around and have a positive life. And maybe at the end of this, graduate on up to something better. I mean, how could we know that, right? It's a nice thought, but either way, why wouldn't we want to have a better life now, right? And anybody will tell you they do, but they won't they won't direct their attention away from the things that are keeping it negative. But you, dear loved one, you have become aware of all of these things. Now, whether you believe in the evil entity that's hijacked the construct or not, I can't even tell you whether or not I believe that. It makes a lot of sense. It does. It doesn't make it true. I don't know. But here's what I do know. Having a much better life would be great anyway. So there's that. Anyway, loved ones, please hit the like button if you would. And subscribe to the channel if you have not yet done so. Also, because I do not claim to be an expert in any of these things, if you can add to the conversation in the comments, that would be fantastic. I would love to hear what if I have missed anything or maybe gotten just whatever your thoughts are. Definitely let me know. So anyway, loved ones, that's what I got. I do love you, and I'll be back directly.